It was just past 6:30 p.m. when Jake Thompson pulled off Loop 101 and into the inviting driveway of the Evergreen Springs Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. The evening sun still blazed, casting a warm glow over the vibrant landscape. The pavement radiated the remnants of the day's heat, while the mountains in the distance showcased breathtaking hues of orange and pink, as if an artist had whimsically brushed the sky with soft watercolors. Jake took a moment to gather himself, shifting the car into park and releasing a deep, slow breath. In the back seat, his 9-year-old daughter, Mia, had finally drifted off to sleep, her cheek resting gently against the window, lips slightly parted. Her beloved tablet had slipped from her lap, the screen displaying a paused cartoon, a testament to her excitement. Jake sat still for a moment, absorbing the atmosphere around him. The drive from San Diego had been long, 6 hours, including gas stops and a couple of fast food breaks. He hadn't necessarily needed to make the trip in person, but something about it felt right, almost essential. The Evergreen Springs had just undergone a 6-month renovation overseen by his management firm. Though Jake owned the property, he preferred to keep a low profile, his name intentionally kept out of the public eye. This trip, however, was not strictly about business. It was about fulfilling a promise. Mia's birthday was just 2 days away, and ever since she had seen the pictures of the hotel featuring a stunning waterfall lobby, she hadn't stopped talking about it. So, Jake decided to skip their usual chaotic Disney trip and take her somewhere serene, just the two of them. He glanced at her reflection in the rearview mirror, a soft smile creeping across his face. "Hey, kiddo," he said gently, tapping the steering wheel. Mia stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Are we here?" she asked, her voice still thick with sleep. "Yes, we're here," Jake replied, his heart swelling with joy at her excitement. She perked up in her seat, stretching her limbs. "Can we swim tonight?" "Let's check in first. Then we'll see about that pool," he responded, stepping out into the dry evening heat. As he opened the door for Mia, she climbed out, clutching her pink backpack tightly, as if it contained fragile treasures. Jake didn't fit the stereotype of a wealthy hotel owner. He wore a simple navy t-shirt, cargo shorts, and worn-out running shoes. His hair was neatly cropped, his face clean-shaven, and his sun-kissed skin bore the marks of a disciplined man, shaped by years in the Marines. But he wasn't here to draw attention. He was here to unwind with his daughter. The lobby of Evergreen Springs was cool and filled with the soothing aroma of lavender and cedar. The sound of an indoor waterfall cascaded in the background, just as it had in the pictures. Mia's eyes widened in delight. "Look, Daddy, it's real water." Jake chuckled, his heart swelling with pride. "I told you it was real." Approaching the front desk, Jake noticed 3 staff members. 2 were engaged in light-hearted conversation behind the monitor, their laughter echoing softly. The third was a sharply dressed young woman named Sarah, who looked up from her computer as they approached. Jake offered a friendly nod and a warm smile. "Good evening. We're here to check in. The name is Jake Thompson, under Evergreen Resorts." As he spoke, Sarah's cheerful demeanor faltered slightly. She hesitated, her fingers pausing over the keyboard. Do you have a confirmation number?" she asked, her gaze avoiding his. Jake raised an eyebrow but maintained his light tone. "I shouldn't need one. I own the property. I booked directly through my firm last week. 5 nights in a deluxe suite, just for me and my daughter." Sarah's smile turned tight as she continued to click away at her computer, glancing up at him with an air of disbelief. "One moment, please." If this story resonates with you, consider sharing it with someone who might need a reminder about the importance of kindness and understanding in everyday interactions. As Jake stood at the front desk, anticipation coursed through him. He watched as Sarah's fingers danced across the keyboard, her expression shifting from casual confidence to confusion. After a tense moment, she looked up, her brows furrowing. "I'm sorry, sir, but it appears we're fully booked for the week." "There must have been a mix-up," she stated, her tone clipped and dismissive. Jake blinked in disbelief. momentarily caught off guard. "That can't be right. I just spoke with my team, and they confirmed everything," he replied, keeping his voice calm, though a hint of frustration crept in. He glanced back at Mia, who had gone silent, her eyes darting between him and Sarah, uncertainty etched on her face. "Could you please double-check?" he implored, hoping to resolve the situation amicably. Sarah shrugged, already turning her attention to the next guest in line, a couple dressed in golf attire, eagerly chatting about their plans for the evening. "I'm sorry, but you could try the hotel across the street. They might have something available," she suggested, her tone flat and unhelpful. Jake felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. He stepped back, jaw clenched, not out of anger, but from a deep-seated sense of control that he had learned to hone in high-pressure situations. He bent down to Mia's level and whispered, "Let's sit for a moment, okay?" She nodded, her small shoulders slumping as they moved to a nearby bench near the artificial waterfall, the sound of rushing water a stark contrast to the tension in the air. As they sat, Jake observed the couple at the front desk being handed their keys with wide smiles. He didn't say a word, but inside, he felt a swell of indignation. It wasn't just about the booking. It was about something deeper. Mia kicked her legs against the bench, her innocence shining through. "Daddy, did they forget our room?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He forced a smile, trying to mask the growing unease. "I don't think they forgot, sweetheart. I think someone just didn't want to look closely enough." Mia tilted her head, puzzled. "Why?" she inquired, her curiosity piquing. Jake paused, contemplating how to explain a concept that even many adults often struggled to understand. "Sometimes people make decisions based on what they think they see, not what's actually there," he replied softly. Before Mia could ask more, Jake stood up, determination set in his eyes. "Let's try again." He walked back to the front desk, this time without his daughter by his side. Sarah was still busy with the couple, but Jake's presence loomed behind her, steady and calm. "Excuse me," he said, his voice even, cutting through the ambient sound of the lobby. Sarah sighed, looking back at him. "Sir, I already told you. I heard you." He interrupted gently but firmly. "But I need you to do one thing for me. Please type in the name Evergreen Resorts and check the reservation under that file." There was a moment of hesitation as Sarah's fingers hovered above the keyboard. Jake could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "I already checked," she insisted, but Jake leaned in slightly, lowering his voice to a near whisper. "Please," he urged, a subtle shift in his demeanor hinting at the weight of his request. Finally she relented, clicking away on the keyboard again. Jake stood silently, watching her intently as she scrolled through the screen. Her expression shifted momentarily, a brief flicker of recognition crossing her face before vanishing. "Nope, nothing," she stated quickly, dismissing him once more. Frustration flared within Jake, but he maintained his composure. He nodded slowly, stepping aside as he glanced back at Mia, who was observing the interaction with wide eyes. "Do you see how people can sometimes overlook what's right in front of them?" he asked her, trying to use this experience as a teaching moment. Mia nodded, her innocence still intact, though she sensed the tension. It was clear that this wasn't just a simple booking issue. It was a reflection of deeper biases. Jake knew he had to push for accountability, not just for himself, but for all guests who might face similar treatment. This story serves as a reminder to challenge assumptions and ensure everyone is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of appearances. Consider sharing this message to promote awareness and kindness in your community. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him as he contemplated his next move. He knew he had to address the issue head-on, not just for himself and Mia, but for anyone else who might face similar treatment. He watched as the couple who had just checked in smiled and strolled towards the elevators, their designer luggage trailing behind them. The bellhop gave Jake a cursory glance before turning away, not bothering to offer assistance. "Let's sit down for a second." said to Mia, who looked up at him with a mix of confusion and concern. They settled back onto the bench, and he felt her small hand clasp his. "Daddy, do you think we'll get our room?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with worry. Jake forced a smile, trying to reassure her. "We will, kiddo. Just give me a moment." He took a deep breath and stood up again, feeling a renewed sense of determination. This time, he approached the front desk with a calm yet assertive demeanor. Sarah was still at her station, and Jake could see her posture tense as he approached. "Excuse me, Sarah," he said, keeping his voice steady. "I need to speak with you again about my reservation. My name is Jake Thompson, and I'm here with my daughter." "I told you, sir, we're fully booked," she replied, her voice tinged with impatience. Jake remained calm. "I understand that, but I need you to check one more time. Please look up the reservation under my name, Thompson, and see if it's listed correctly." He could sense the unease radiating from her as she hesitated, glancing at the computer. "Look, I already told you," she began, but Jake interrupted. "I'm not trying to be difficult. I just need you to do your job and verify the booking. Can you please do that for me?" After a moment of hesitation, Sarah reluctantly began typing again. Jake could feel the tension in the air as a couple of other guests waited behind him, their eyes darting curiously between him and the front desk staff. He could sense their silent judgment, and it fueled his determination to push back against the discrimination that seemed to be at play. As Sarah scrolled through the screen, Jake noticed her expression change ever so slightly, a flicker of realization before she quickly masked it. "I'm sorry, but it's not showing up," she insisted, her tone defensive. Jake's heart sank, but he refused to back down. "I know you saw my name yesterday. You chose to overlook it. What's happening here is not just a booking error. It's about how people perceive others based on their appearance." He could feel the atmosphere shift as nearby guests began to take notice, some whispering among themselves. Just then, a tall man in a beige blazer approached from the back, introducing himself as Calvin, another staff member. "Good evening, sir. How can I assist you?" he asked, noticing the tension. Jake turned to Calvin, his voice steady. "I'm trying to check into my room, but it seems there's been a misunderstanding. I'd like to know why my reservation is being dismissed while other guests are being accommodated without issue." Calvin glanced at Sarah, who shifted uncomfortably. "I'll check the system again," he said, trying to diffuse the situation. As he typed, Jake could sense that the other guests were now fully engaged, watching the unfolding drama with keen interest. After a few moments, Calvin's eyes widened. "Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry. It looks like your reservation is here. You're booked in for 5 nights in a deluxe suite." He quickly printed out the key cards and handed them to Jake. Jake took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and lingering frustration. "Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate your help, but I need to speak with your general manager about this situation. It's important that this doesn't happen again." Calvin nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Of course, I'll see if she's available." Mia, who had been quietly observing from the side, looked up at her father. "Are we going to get our room now, Daddy?" she asked with hopeful eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. But it's not just about the room anymore," he replied, his tone firm yet gentle. "It's about making sure everyone is treated with respect, no matter how they look." As they prepared to head to their room, Jake felt a renewed sense of responsibility. He realized that this wasn't just a personal battle. It was a chance to challenge the biases that often went unchecked. This experience serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against discrimination. By sharing this story, we can encourage others to be vigilant and ensure that everyone is treated fairly, regardless of their appearance or background. After receiving the key cards, Jake and Mia made their way to their suite, room 314. The atmosphere was still tense, but as they entered the room, the stunning view of Camelback Mountain greeted them through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The interior was just as beautiful as the promotional photos had promised, with modern decor that reflected the hotel's recent renovations. Mia rushed to the balcony, her excitement palpable as she took in the sight of the pool below. "Daddy, look! We can see the waterfall from here!" she exclaimed, her eyes lighting up with joy. Jake smiled, his heart swelling with pride at her enthusiasm. Yet beneath the surface, his mind was still racing with thoughts about the treatment they had just experienced. As they settled in, Jake's phone buzzed with a message from Lisa, his colleague. "Do you want me to call the board or legal about the situation?" it read. He paused for a moment, contemplating how to handle this. Instead of escalating things immediately, he decided to give the hotel one more chance to rectify the situation before involving higher authorities. "No, let's see how they handle things first," he typed back, trying to maintain a sense of control over the situation. 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door, and Jake opened it to find a woman in her late 40s, dressed in a professional blazer. Her badge read, "Amelia Rowe, Assistant General Manager, Mr. Thompson," she said, catching her breath. "I apologize for not meeting you earlier. I understand there was an issue with your check-in." Jake nodded, allowing her to step inside. "There was, indeed," he replied, folding his arms as he took a seat. Amelia's demeanor was serious, and Jake could tell that she was genuinely concerned. "I've already spoken with my team about your experience, and I want to assure you that this doesn't reflect how we operate here. Amelia, I appreciate your concern, but I need to know why your staff treated me the way they did. I own this hotel, and yet I was made to feel like I didn't belong," Jake said, his voice calm but firm. He could see a flicker of recognition in Amelia's eyes as she processed his words. "I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been," she said. "I believe there were assumptions made based on your appearance and the fact that you were with your daughter." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "It's unacceptable, and I'm committed to ensuring this doesn't happen again." Jake studied her, searching for sincerity in her response. "Good, because I'm not here to create a scene. I want to see real changes. I built this hotel with the intention of creating a welcoming environment for everyone, not just those who fit a certain mold." Amelia nodded earnestly. "I understand, and I will personally address this matter with my staff. We will reevaluate our training protocols and make sure everyone understands the importance of treating all guests with respect, regardless of their appearance." Jake appreciated her willingness to take action, but he wanted to ensure that this wasn't just a promise made in the moment. "I want this to be used as a learning opportunity for your team. It should be a case study, not just another training module. It needs to be tangible and memorable." "Absolutely," Amelia replied quickly, her tone more resolute now. "We will hold a mandatory meeting to discuss this incident, and I will make sure that everyone is aware of the consequences of their actions." Jake felt a sense of relief wash over him. "Thank you, Amelia. I want to make it clear that this isn't just about me. It's about anyone who walks through those doors, whether they're wearing a suit or a t-shirt." As Amelia stood to leave, Jake extended his hand and she took it firmly. "Thank you for your time and for addressing this. I'll be watching to see how things improve," he said. After she left, Mia looked up from the couch where she had been quietly observing. "Did everything get sorted out, Daddy?" she asked, her curiosity evident. "Getting there, sweetheart," Jake replied, ruffling her hair. But deep down, he knew that the battle wasn't over yet. He still had to ensure that the changes promised were implemented, and that no other guests would have to face the same discrimination they had encountered. This moment serves as a reminder of the importance of accountability in service industries. By sharing this story, we can inspire others to advocate for fairness and respect in their own communities, ensuring that everyone is treated with dignity. The next morning, Jake awoke before the sun, a habit ingrained from his years in the Marines. He brewed a pot of the in-room coffee, which was less than stellar, but sufficient to kickstart his day. Stepping out onto the balcony, he inhaled the crisp morning air, taking in the serene view of the empty pool below and the perfectly aligned patio chairs. As he leaned against the railing, he couldn't shake the feeling that the energy of the hotel had shifted overnight. At precisely 8 a.m., he and Mia made their way downstairs. She wore her favorite orange dress, her hair styled in two bouncy ponytails. Jake opted for a simple t-shirt and jeans, choosing comfort over style. As they passed through the lobby, he noticed Sarah behind the front desk again. Her smile was tight, and her eyes were downcast, her hands fidgeting nervously. Nearby, Calvin stood, overly attentive to the well-dressed guests arriving for breakfast, a stark contrast to how he had treated Jake the previous day. Jake approached the front desk, his heart racing slightly. He wanted to gauge whether anything had changed since his meeting with Amelia. As he reached the counter, he noticed a younger black man in a suit waiting patiently, his expression calm yet concerned. Jake watched as Sarah's demeanor shifted. She seemed tense, her body language immediately changing upon seeing the man. After some back and forth, she informed him that there was no record of his reservation, despite his polite insistence that it had been booked through his company. The man, clearly frustrated but maintaining his composure, stepped away to make a call. Sensing the opportunity to intervene, Jake decided to step in. "Excuse me," he said, turning to Calvin. "Could I speak with Amelia again?" Calvin flinched, clearly expecting the worst. "She's actually not in yet," he replied, sounding uneasy. Jake turned to the young man, offering a reassuring smile. "What company are you with?" he asked. "Divest Energy," the man replied, looking surprised by Jake's approach. "I was told everything was handled." Jake nodded, recalling the familiar feeling of being dismissed. "I approved that contract myself," he stated calmly. "I'm Jake Thompson, the owner of this hotel." The air grew thick with tension as both Sarah and Calvin exchanged glances. Jake could see the realization dawning on them, but he knew he had to stay focused on the issue at hand. This gentleman deserves to be treated with respect, just as any other guest. It's not just about the reservation. It's about how we treat people based on appearances. Sarah looked visibly uncomfortable, her cheeks reddening as she avoided eye contact. Calvin, on the other hand, seemed to recognize the gravity of the situation. "I'll check again," he said quickly, reaching for the computer. As he typed, the young man stood beside Jake, clearly unsure of how to react. "Thank you for standing up for me," he said quietly, glancing at Jake with gratitude. After a brief moment, Calvin's face lit up with realization. "I'm so sorry. Your reservation is here," he said, relief flooding his voice. He quickly printed out the key cards and handed them to the young man, who looked both surprised and grateful. Jake turned back to the young man. "You'll have your room now. Enjoy your stay," he said with a nod. As the man walked away, Mia looked up at her father, her eyes wide. "Did you fix it again, Daddy?" she asked, a mixture of admiration and confusion on her face. "Working on it, kiddo," he replied, knowing that awareness was a powerful tool. The atmosphere around them had shifted, and people were beginning to notice the need for change. Throughout the morning, Jake observed subtle changes in the way the staff interacted with him and other guests. Employees who had ignored him before now greeted him with polite nods, their respect evident. As he and Mia enjoyed breakfast, he felt a sense of hope that perhaps this experience could lead to a broader awareness among the hotel staff. This experience underscores the importance of advocating for fairness and respect in all interactions. By sharing this story, we can encourage others to reflect on their actions and ensure that everyone is treated with dignity, regardless of their background or appearance. As Jake and Mia prepared to check out of Evergreen Springs Resort, a sense of accomplishment washed over him. The previous few days had been filled with tension, but now, the atmosphere felt lighter, more welcoming. As they loaded their bags into the car, Jake noticed Calvin approaching, holding 2 cold water bottles and a paper bag. "Here's a little road snack for you and your daughter," Calvin said with a genuine smile. Muffins from the kitchen. No charge. Jake accepted the gesture with gratitude, surprised by the change in Calvin's demeanor. "Thank you. This is very kind of you," he replied, noticing the respect in Calvin's eyes as they locked gazes. It was clear that the events of the past few days had made an impact on the staff. As they finished packing up the car, Mia turned to her father, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Daddy, can we come back here next time?" she asked, hopefully. Jake chuckled. "Absolutely, Mia. I'd love to bring you back here." He glanced at the hotel one last time, appreciating the beauty of the property and the potential it held for future guests. Just then, Amelia emerged from the hotel, clipboard in hand and a serious expression on her face. "Mr. Thompson," she called out, striding toward him. "Do you have a moment?" Jake nodded, gesturing for her to come closer. "Of course, Amelia. What's on your mind?" "I wanted to update you on what we did following our meeting," she began, her tone earnest. "I held a mandatory staff meeting this morning, addressing the issues that arose during your stay. I walked everyone through the details, emphasizing the importance of treating every guest with respect, regardless of their appearance." Jake felt a sense of relief at her words. "I appreciate that, Amelia. It's crucial that everyone understands the impact of their actions." She continued. "Some staff members were defensive, while others felt embarrassed. But they listened. I made it clear that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated, and we'll be implementing new training protocols to ensure that it doesn't happen again." "Thank you for taking this seriously," Jake replied, feeling hopeful that real change was on the horizon. "I want to make sure that everyone who walks through those doors feels welcome and valued." Amelia nodded in agreement. "We'll be using this incident as a case study in our training materials for all locations. It's important to create an environment where everyone feels they belong." Jake smiled, satisfied with her commitment to improvement. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear. This hotel has the potential to be a leader in customer service and inclusivity." As they spoke, Mia wandered off a few steps, her attention caught by a group of playful kids by the pool. Jake watched her, his heart swelling with pride. He wanted to create a world for her where kindness and respect were the norms, not exceptions. Before Jake could leave, Amelia added, "I also wanted to mention that I plan to personally follow up with all guests who experienced any issues during their stay. This isn't just about correcting mistakes. It's about building relationships." "Thank you, Amelia. That's a great approach," Jake said, appreciating her dedication to accountability. As he turned to head back to the car, he glanced back at Amelia. "Oh, one last thing," he said with a smirk. "Next time you see a guest who looks like me, I hope you'll remember our conversation." She laughed, the tension from their earlier interactions dissipating. "You can count on it, Mr. Thompson. We've learned our lesson." Once inside the car, Jake buckled Mia in and kissed her forehead. "Did you have fun, sweetheart?" he asked, turning to her with a smile. "Yes, Daddy. This was the best trip ever," she exclaimed, her excitement infectious. As they pulled away from the resort, Jake felt a sense of accomplishment. They had faced a significant challenge, but it had led to meaningful discussions and potential change. He realized that sometimes standing up for what is right can lead to greater awareness and improvement for everyone involved. This journey had reinforced the importance of respect and understanding, and Jake hoped to carry these lessons into their everyday lives. This story serves as a reminder that every action counts. By sharing our experiences and advocating for kindness, we can inspire others to treat everyone with respect, fostering a more inclusive and compassionate world.